Good day, students. So for today's online discussion, we will continue to discuss part 2 of community profiling that also includes participatory action planning. So this topic includes also humanitarian needs and priorities. So we have participatory action planning. So on December 24, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs and the UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator jointly launched the Humanitarian Needs and Priorities for Typhoon Rai response, targeting 530,000 people in worst affected areas of Caraga region in Mindanao and Region 8 Eastern Visayas in the Visayas. The HNP, or the Humanitarian Needs and Priorities, calls for 107.2 million US dollars to support the government in responding to the most urgent humanitarian needs from December 2021 to June 2022 in WASH, life-saving food needs emergency, shelter, decentralized communication to restore access to islands and places which are currently cut off, and support for coordination by the government. Among others, an HNP data portal reflecting the current situation, funding status, and operation has been set up for transparent and timely monitoring of the response. So, the Emergency Relief Coordinator approved 12 million US dollars under the Central Emergency Response, or the CERF, the Emergency Response Fund, focusing on life-saving needs in Caraga and the Eastern Visayas region, with a strong localization component allocating of up to 25% of funds to local NGOs. A 20% allocation is reserved to protection activities, specifically for women, children, and other vulnerable groups. So, in addition to this, coordination and other resource mobilization tools have been activated to mobilize local NGOs and partners in Palawan and other areas outside of the HNP priority areas. Situation review. So the Typhoon Rai, local name the Typhoon Odette, entered the Philippine area of responsibility on 14 of December and rapidly intensified to a Category 5 typhoon with peak winds up to 235 kilometers per hour. 235 kilometers per hour. It made 9 landfalls between 16 and 17 of December in the provinces of Dinagat Islands, Surigao del Norte, Southern Leyte, Bohol, Cebu, Negros Oriental, and Palawan. The extent of damage, though with lesser casualties, is likened to Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. On 21 of December, the government of the Philippines declared a one-year state of calamity over region of Mimaropa, including Palawan, the Region 6 of Western Visayas, Region 7 of Central Visayas, Region 8 of Eastern Visayas, Region 10 of Northern Mindanao, and Region 13 of Caraga, due to the impact and damage caused by the Typhoon Rai. The state of calamity would allow local governments to tap into their respective calamity funds to help typhoon-hit communities. So such declaration allows price controls on commodities in devastated areas, and it hastens rescue and relief efforts. So in our situation review, the government announced its willingness to accept international assistance to help sustain the most immediate needs of those affected. To date, over 6.2 million people were affected across 10 regions, and about 580,000 of them remain displaced, with 356,000 people staying in evacuation centers and 227,000 people staying with host families or friends. Latest death count has totaled to 397. Urgent needs are food and non-food items, clean water and sanitation facilities, shelter, hygiene kits, medical supplies, and restoration of livelihoods. As per NDRRMC report on 30th of December, 161 cities and municipalities have restored power out of 284 that experienced power outage or interruptions, while 79 cities and municipalities have restored communication lines out of 189 that experienced interrupted services. Estimated agricultural damages includes also 80,000 hectares of crops, 1.2 million livestock and poultry, and 5,024 agricultural infrastructures and equipment costing about 5.5 billion pesos or 108 million US dollars. As basic lifelines have been partially restored, reports show that markets are functional in Surigao del Norte, Southern Leyte, and Palawan. However, constraints on supply chain, especially logistics and transport of goods, continue. 2 weeks after the typhoon, financial service providers are starting to be operational, making cash voucher assistance feasible in mainland Surigao del Norte, Southern Leyte, and Palawan. It may take up to 2 or to 3 weeks for the feasible in Siargao Islands. Local authorities have started providing cash support to affected communities and vulnerable sectors in Palawan. Next, let's now proceed to humanitarian response needs, response gaps, and constraints. So in our needs, as of 30th of December 2021, the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or the DSWD, reports a total of 150,976 families, or 564,045 individuals are displaced in regions, respectively. Out of this total displaced population, 83,866 families are still in evacuation centers, and 67,110 families are outside evacuation centers, staying with relatives or friends. Majority of IDPs are regions 6, 7, and Caraga. The main reason for IDPs delayed encampment is damaged houses. A significant number have already returned and doing self-repair utilizing salvage materials. So, the rapid damage and needs assessment in most affected provinces confirmed that displaced people need food and non-food items, water, sanitation, and hygiene facilities, hygiene kits, and dignity kits. Mental health and psychosocial support is also needed for the IDPs who are distressed by devastation of the typhoons. Several suffered injuries are after being hit by debris, thus the need for first aid kit and medicine. With electricity and communication lines unserviceable, the communities call for solar lamps, generator, and telecommunication services. Specific to those in EZ, the IDPs urgently need the following: sleeping kits, modular tents, and easy construction repair and maintenance. There is a necessity for sufficient space for physical distancing in the EZs in compliance with the COVID-19 guidelines. as well with camp design and layout that is safe for women, children, and persons with disability. Let's now proceed to response. So provided technical assistance to the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD, field offices and local government units in Region 6, 7, 8, and 10, Mimaropa and Caraga in implementing the CCCM COVID-19 operational guidelines. So as of 26th of December 2021, a total of 5,598 shelter-grade tarps have been handed over to the provinces of Cebu, Bohol, Southern Leyte, and to Caraga region. PPEs, including face masks for adults and children, alcohol, and hand soaps have been distributed to LGUs to promote health and safety protocols. Cluster representatives started consulting with affected LGUs on the prospect of return or relocation to anticipate cases of prolonged displacement which might require sustained humanitarian assistance. So in addition to this, in response, the cluster will advocate for early decampment or zero-tent makeshifts. Easiest to avoid possible COVID-19 transmission is congested evacuation centers and to enable IDPs to recover immediately. The cluster started coordinating and advocating with the shelter cluster so that IDPs are prioritized in the provision of shelter repair materials for their immediate return. The displacement tracking matrix will ruled out in the provinces of Southern Leyte, Caraga region in early January 2022 to get clearer situation analysis and informed programming. Next, we have the gaps and constraints. So lack of potable water is an issue in the evacuation center, increasing the cases of diarrhea. Physical distancing is not strictly followed in some evacuation centers due to the limited safe and accessible areas. So now comprehensive data on this aggregated demographics and multi-sectoral needs for IDPs in the ECs across the provinces. No consolidated information yet on how would not be allowed to return and those who would be relocated. Constraints communication between the affected LGUs and the national government is severely hampered due to the power outage and telecom interruption. This is causing delay in the delivery of services to the affected communities. Let us now proceed to shelter cluster. A total of 497,725 partially damaged houses and 214,934 totally damaged houses are reported in the following region, respectively. So financial loss estimates for damaged houses have reached 29,219,218 pesos or 570,000 US dollars. Many concrete houses have lost their roof due to the strong winds, while most houses in rural areas built with light framing materials are damaged beyond repair. Some material may be salvaged but only if collected and stored to protect them from further damage from the weather. So the toppled power pools supplying light and electricity for cooking and refrigeration are slowly being replaced, and the cost of fuel to run generators has skyrocketed in some areas. After very high floods destroyed, after very high flood levels destroyed, the furnishing and content of homes, stagnant waters persist in some areas damaging the structure of homes, including those built on stilts to protect residents living along wetlands. Family need essential household goods to sleep, cook, and begin their work of self-recovery. So a number of landslides have destroyed homes and will require the relocation of those families with temporary shelters and the replacement of the essential household goods that were lost. An estimated 583,790 individuals are still displaced, living with host families or in evacuation centers. So these families will need a minimum package of building materials, access to skilled labor, and funds to repair or to re-erect temporary shelter that will permit them to rebuild their homes. So, experience from previous disasters shows that families need inclusive access to support with housing, land and property issues following displacement or during reconstruction, support to self-recovery initiatives like multi-purpose cash grants are crucial to amplify the efforts of affected people and the survival of the markets in their communities. Next, let us now proceed to food security and agricultural needs. So, immediate food needs of vulnerable affected 103,857 households or 519,218 individuals in hard-to-reach areas of Region 8 and 13, which includes 68,991 farming and fishing households, or equivalent to 344,955 individuals. Restoration of resources and livelihoods of 15,000 farming and fishing households out of 68,991 directly affected by Typhoon Rai, according to the Department of Agriculture estimates. Protecting, including the child protection and prevention of gender-based violence. So the provision of mental health and psychosocial support, especially in the most hard-hit areas such as Caraga, the support for unaccompanied and separate children who are found begging on the streets. Concerns have been raised on the increased risk for sexual exploitation and abuse of children, as several of the affected areas are tourist spots. Establish temporary or prefabricated facility for women and children protection unit in Region 4, thus A, 6, and 7, as the buildings hosting them are damaged. So, in addition to this, the resumption of reproductive and sexual health services in hospitals that are partly functional or partly damaged, the provision of traditional and non-traditional child-friendly spaces, including setting up of physical spaces. 200 families in 2 barangays in Surigao City, for example, receive core relief item packages composed of mosquito nets, plastic tarpaulins, and solar lamps, distributed as a joint effort of DSWD, Moraga City Government of Surigao and Protection Partners. 11 islands of barangay in Surigao received 4 by 50 meter reinforced plastic sheets for temporary shelter and communal spaces. DSWD Caraga supported the UNHCR convent with the first tri-cluster. It includes the food, the NFI CCM and protection coordination meeting. Health needs. So a total of 7 deaths reported. 6 are due to severe dehydration and 1 due to suspected leptospirosis. Since 19th of December, a total of 179 acute gastroenteritis cases admitted to Siargao Island Medical Center from 5 barangays in General Luna, Siargao Island. Another 194 cases of acute gastroenteritis under verification as to whether these are related to the reported cases in the Siargao Island Medical Center. Wash-related commodities, provision of potable water supply, water purification tablets, and water testing kits, surveillance system to immediately detect epidemic-prone diseases in the evacuation center in affected communities. So the medicine and medical supplies such as IVF or acute gastroenteritis or the age cases with dehydration and other medicines. COVID-19 rapid antigen kits for the IDPs with acute respiratory infection and upper respiratory tract infection. Support for the prevention of COVID-19 infections such as face masks and tents for isolating symptomatic evacuees.